Good afternoon. First of all, I want to thank Vitrolife to give me the opportunity to share with you some thoughts about the so-called social freezing. I hope that in the coming 10 minutes we will come to the conclusion that why women are freezing their eggs, well, mainly because they don't have a male partner. Who is freezing eggs? Well, actually highly educated women. And when they freeze their eggs, well, nowadays they really freeze the eggs too late. When we see in this slide, you just have to see the trend of the curves. You can see the share of women that having their first child between 35 and 39 years, and we can really see that there is an increasing trend in having their children later. And we all know that having children later means that there is a higher probability of not having children because the fertility declines. And here you can see a very interesting figure. You can see, I just want you to look at the blue and the green bars, for example. When you see the blue corresponding with 1985 and the green with 2007, what can you see? Well, you can see that there is a higher percentage of women that stay without children, and these without willing to. So, according to the WHO, we all know that staying without child, without willing to, is a real disease with a high psychological impact. Now, is there a solution? Well, everyone had heard already about social egg freezing. And, very important, how women know about this possibility. According to this really nice publication of 2013 of Rode Zwart, you can see that more or less half of the women know about social egg freezing through a friend, but a high percentage, 4 out of 10, knew about this through media. On the other hand, it was also the media that led them think that having a child on a later age naturally was also possible. So there are some contradictory data or ideas that comes out of the media. We now go really into the subject of today. Why are women freezing their eggs? Well, first of all, we need to think if having children later on, postponement motherhood, is really a bad thing. We see in this study that was published in 2012 that women having their children after 40 found that there were some advantages and disadvantages. When we go and look into the disadvantages, we see that they think that having the children at a later age, they will probably have a higher need for infertility treatment. Also, they speak about having less energy with age, or also having a less time span with their children. And finally, also to be stigmatized as being an older parent. But on the other hand, a lot of advantages came out of having a child after 40. For example, being emotionally more prepared. Also, being at a stage where work, career is more flexible, and also be financially more secure. And at the end, they also told that they feel that they had a stronger partner and family relationship. Now, the reasons for freezing out of this study of Neckebroek in 2010, we can see that the reason for freezing the eggs is because they find that they have more time for their relationship to blossom. Also, they did it because of having a kind of insurance for an eventual future infertility. And this was the most important, to take off the pressure of having a child right now. We did a survey on about 1,500 women before starting our social egg freezing program, and out of this survey we saw that women did it in order to have a greater economic stability, also to be personally more satisfied with their life, and also to give more time to develop their professional career. But when we ask us the question that why these women don't have their children earlier, well, actually, nearly all studies show that all women that freeze their eggs, or nearly all women that are freezing their eggs, actually don't have a partner at that moment. So lack of a male partner is really something fundamental to take the decision of freezing the eggs. So we know already why they are freezing, and we know already that they freeze mainly because of a lack of a male partner. But now we will see who is freezing actually. And first of all, before really going to see who is freezing, we want to see if a lot of women are planning to freeze the eggs. According to the study of Dominique Stoop from Brussels, we can see that around 3 out of 10 women plan or would be ready to spend some money to freeze the eggs. But in that study at that time, a few years ago, only 3% really did so. When we look to the educational level, so this is a study, an unpublished study that we performed in our center in around 140 women, we can see that nearly all women had university studies. And these results are really in accordance to the other published series. When now we were looking inside, more deeply inside the activity of these women, we can see that nearly all of them are working at the moment of freezing. And when we see what they are doing as job, we can see that they come mainly out of the healthcare sector, also marketing, sales, education, also finance, and also out of the management and legal area. So these are really the main employment fields of these women. So we know already the answer to who is freezing, mainly high educated women, but now we go to the last question I want to answer with you now, is when women are freezing. In accordance to 3 studies, so 2 published ones and one of our series that will be published, I hope, quite quickly, we can see that the mean age of freezing eggs for the moment in 3 different parts of the world, so New York, Brussels and Barcelona, we can see that it's much too late because for the moment they freeze at around 39 years. How old will they be in the future? Well, first we have to ask us the question that how many of these women would have frozen their eggs earlier? And we can see that more or less 7 out of 10, they would have frozen the eggs earlier. Then we can ask ourselves the question, why didn't they do it earlier? Well, most of them because they weren't aware of this possibility. So actually, we really expect that the age will be later in the future. And according to a survey that we performed, we also saw that when we asked the women at what age would they ideally freeze, they all gave us an idea more or less around 34 years. So we think that in the future, women will freeze earlier. And finally, another question, when do they plan to have their children later on? Again, the same series in the 3 areas of the world all give us the same results, that they plan to have a child in the beginning of 40s. And only, and this I think it's important, only 3% of the women out of the study of Oude Zwart froze their eggs only on purpose of delay the motherhood. So far, there is no reason to fear to have women to come and use their eggs at a very advanced age. Other thoughts that I would like to share with you about egg freezing, that nearly all women that froze their eggs would do it again or would recommend it to others. And I think it's very important that the majority of them, since they froze their eggs, they think more about motherhood. So finally, we come to the conclusions, and we can say that delaying motherhood is a real problem. That's why women are freezing, well, mainly because of lack of a male partner. Who is freezing? Highly educated women. And when do they freeze? Well, in the late 30s. For sure, more studies are needed on this subject, and I think very important that we really need to increase awareness about this topic in patients, but also among professionals. I thank you for your attention.